Well, it feels like it's been forever because it has been forever. It's been what? Let me see. It's been 3 days since. No, it might have been 4 days since I've done a live show. Joey's filled in for me to keep the live shows going, but me myself, I've been busy trying to get this background straightened up and everything, and it's still like way far from being done. So even what you see now is not even close to what the final product's going to look like. In fact, the front of this right here is going to be boxed in. So the pinwheel of pennants will come back, and it'll be front and center, like very front, first thing you see. And then the helmet's on top. And then I'm going to run a board near the ceiling way up there for even more helmets. So it's going to be a lot of helmets in this room, a lot. Let me get to the ones that I got today. Give me 1 second, guys. I forgot to turn the fan on. It gets really, really hot in here. Oh yeah, these helmets that I got today. I mean, I'm guessing this is a throwback pit. I've never seen this before, guys. What do you like? Did their colors used to be red and yellow? Like this one had me confused. Not gonna lie, I've never seen a pit helmet like that. The only ones I've seen is the two different color of blues with script pit, and then with the panther on it. One's a darker blue, one's a lighter blue. But this right here, no, I've never seen it. And then I got a mini helmet of Xavier. Xavier doesn't even have a football team right now, but because of the Notre Dame win over, I think it was Marshall, they're starting to discuss future possibilities of Xavier having college football. Yeah, didn't know that either. So it's crazy things, guys. So everybody that's seen my old background and now, of course, you see my new background. What do you think so far? I mean, there's still a lot to do. There's still a lot to do. This is like phase 1 out of like 5 phases. So you'll see it, phase by phase by phase. But let me know, what you think of the progress. What you think. I do take suggestions. Like whenever we did whenever I started getting pinwheels and I was asking people. I actually talked to Uncle Lou. He said keep it separately, and then one of my subscribers said you should try to do the pinwheel thing. That turned out well. It's going to go on whenever I box this in, the front's going to be boxed in. The bottom part's going to be boxed in. The pinwheel of pennants is going to go right there. So that's going to be back for sure. Let me get this arrow off real quick. Yeah, I'm going to put in the StreamYard link. I forgot today was Tuesday. That's how busy this week is. So yes, this is a call-in. Let me do that real quick. Hold on. 1 second, guys. No, I did that opposite. Wish they made these links easier to copy because it is a pain in the rear end. Well, for me. Yes. That's right. Yep, there we go. All right, so if you'd like to join the stream, there you go. Sorry I've been away, guys. I've just been working on the background. A lot of work, and there's still a lot of work to be done. But the ultimate final rendition is going to be pretty awesome. I'm pretty satisfied with it so far. We had to make a few adjustments, but I mean that's pretty much with anything construction related, and that's what we're doing. Did any games surprise y'all this weekend? Was there any surprise games? I think it surprised me that it surprised me that Florida State was in that game against NC State. Yeah, sorry. I think I had a dyslexic moment right there. There we go. Thanks for pointing that out. Totally missed that altogether. There we go. Make sure that's the right. Yep, that's right. There we go. All right, now we got it. It's not the first. That's not the first time that I've done that, by the way. So, anyways, yes, it did surprise me that Florida State looked pretty good against NC State. I thought NC State would handle them. Texas A&M, Alabama should have blown them out, but I guess this is now a rivalry between Jimbo and Saban, and now, every time they play, it's going to be, a close, hard-fought game. I don't know. I thought Alabama would at least put up 49, 50 points on them. So that one kind of surprised me. What's going on, Jeffrey?
Nothing much. Nice to finally meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too, buddy. What's on your mind, man?
Nothing much. Just on my way from Pensacola up to Morgantown to the Baylor game.
Yeah, I was going to try to make the Baylor game, but we had a lot of things pop up. I'm going to still try to go to the Oklahoma game, so we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. Hopefully they win tomorrow. Not too sure. I mean, not tomorrow, Thursday.
Yeah, I think West Virginia has a pretty good shot. I think Kansas is actually a better team than Baylor. I mean, Baylor's been decent on both sides of the ball, but nothing that really scares me. Definitely not like they were last year. I think they're beatable, and of course, Baylor's never won in Morgantown, and even ESPN has our chances of winning a little bit higher than what I expected. They still expect Baylor to win, but for ESPN, I thought that was a little more than what I was expecting, to be honest with you. I think we match up well. West Virginia does really well after the bye week under Neil Brown. That's one thing. I guess that's one bright spot you can say with Neil Brown at West Virginia. So there's a lot of things that lead me to believe that West Virginia can beat Baylor. But even if we do beat Baylor, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden our season is turned around, because there's still a bunch of teams on our schedule that we don't match up well against. So I honestly expect us to win this game, but it doesn't really tell me anything. It doesn't tell me. Now, if we lose this game, that would tell me something. That would tell me that we're actually worse than I thought. But winning this game, not going to really tell me anything, because I expect to win it. That's just my honest opinion.
Yeah. You think Oklahoma hired the wrong coach?
No, I don't think they hired the wrong coach. I just think that the players that are on the roster don't fit what he wants to do. We got to remember that Lincoln Riley and Brent Venables coach different types of players. Just because one player has 4 stars and another player has 4 stars, don't mean that they're on the same level in certain areas. They could be 2 completely different, players. So it's just going to take time for Brent Venables to get his guys in there. I didn't expect Oklahoma to take as big a step back as we've seen so far, but once he gets his guys in there, that's when we can actually judge how good of a head coach he's going to be.
Yeah, the way Texas beat them, I'm not even too sure they'll make a bowl.
Well, Texas is, especially with Quinn Ewers, Texas is a lot better than people think. Now I think that if they would have had Quinn Ewers, that they would have beat us even worse, because they looked really, really good on offense. Now, but having said that, Oklahoma didn't score a daggone point on Texas, and Quinn Ewers doesn't play on defense, and we put up 20. So that game in Morgantown against Oklahoma, it might be our first win against Oklahoma, but it's not going to mean that much, because Oklahoma's bad this year. So it's kind of weird the way that got set up.
Yeah. But how's the weather up there in North Carolina? or South Carolina. I forget where you're at.
It's pretty good all the time, actually. It's starting to get cooler, but nothing unusual or anything like that. But we're expecting a lot of cold air to come out or come down, and a lot of meteorologists think that we're going to have a lot more snow this year. So we got to keep an eye out for that because people down here drive absolutely nuts in the snow. They have no idea how to drive in the snow. Like the thing that really gets to me is whenever it does sleet or snow, they kind of go normal speed and brake hard instead of going slower and then applying the brake slowly. It's like they think it's okay to go regular speed and then just brake harder. That actually makes the situation worse. So I'm not looking forward to snow and sleet down here. Not because I don't like it, but because people down here absolutely do not know how to drive in it. It's crazy. It turns into
Yeah,
a circus. Turns into a circus down here.
Florida's horrible with the weather. I can't stand it. But
Oh yeah.
I
Well, at least they don't
know.
get no snow down there. What? Now there is one game. There's another game that kind of surprised me as well because Georgia had a couple of bad games in a row, and it looked like their offense and their defense, for that matter, may have fixed whatever issues they had against Kent State and Missouri because they absolutely blasted Auburn. But at the same time, maybe that's just proof that Auburn's a really, really bad team. I don't think Brian Harsin is going to last past this year if Auburn keeps going the way they're going. He might even get fired in the middle of the season. I guess Auburn has way more money than what I thought because they fired Gus Malzahn. I think it was historically the biggest buyout of all time. And now with Brian Harsin, he might not make it through this year. So
Yeah,
happy for you, Auburn. You have that much money, but maybe it was not the right decision to fire Gus Malzahn. I mean, the dude never had one season that was less than winning. All winning seasons.
yeah.
What's going on, Wes?
What's up, man? Am I in the chat?
Yep.
Man, what's up, Going Blue, dude? Fucking big fan show. Sorry about this swearing, man. Husker Nation, baby. Go Big Red. What do you think? What do you think Nebraska's odds are this weekend against Purdue?
Where's that game going to be played at?
It's in Purdue.
It's in Purdue.
Yeah.
Nebraska has looked actually pretty decent the past couple games. I don't like their chances specifically against Purdue, but the rest of your schedule sets up to where I think Nebraska, surprisingly enough, Nebraska could end up making a bowl, and that's counting with a loss to Purdue. Now, Purdue has had some good games and some bad games. I still stand by. I think they should have beaten Syracuse in the Dome. Those refs, especially the last minute of the game, they kept throwing flag after flag after flag to get to keep that drive alive for Syracuse to win that or to get that game-winning touchdown. So I think Purdue should have one more win on their win total. So I think they're a little bit better. I think Nebraska loses that game, even though they're better. It's going to be closer than now. If you would have asked me this after the Oklahoma game, and the next game would have been at Purdue, I would say Nebraska, you get blown out. But I've seen Nebraska, for whatever reason, maybe it was they just needed to get rid of Scott Frost. I don't know. But y'all played much, much better. So it's going to be a loss, but it's going to be a much closer loss. It's going to be respectable.
Yeah, I'm thinking Purdue probably by 3. I hope I'm wrong, but
Yeah,
I appreciate your insight, man. I'm out here in Morgantown. I'm gonna be at the game. I'll be at the game here Thursday against Baylor, so we'll see if we can get it done there.
Yeah, I won't be able to. I won't be in Morgantown, but I'll definitely be live streaming the game. So whether we win or whether we lose, people will probably see some crazy reactions from me. I can't help it. I get emotional.
Me too, man. I'm actually a season ticket holder here in Morgantown as well. So
Oh yeah,
my wife and I go to every game. I usually wear Nebraska, so people usually think I'm Ohio State, but
oh man, that's not good up in Morgantown.
well, yeah, then we get to talking and I tell them it's Nebraska, and then by the end of the time we're drinking beer and talking like friends. So it's great out here. I love Morgantown, but
Let me ask you this. You
yeah.
said you're a season ticket holder. Is there any murmurings going around with the season ticket holders as far as maybe not re-upping next year if Neil Brown is still around?
I'll tell you what, man. The people I've talked out here, they don't like Neil Brown, and I haven't really heard anything about not getting any season tickets or re-upping their season tickets. But I'll tell you what, man. I think Neil Brown is a hell of a coach. I've been saying it since year one. I think that his record, I know a lot of people are going to hate me for it. I mean, his record doesn't really speak what he's doing.
Right.
I've been at every game this year. I saw KU here in Morgantown. That was a battle. It was a great game. I mean, I haven't seen heart like that in a long time from any team.
Yeah, because
And
Kansas did go up 2 touchdowns on West Virginia, and West Virginia battled back to at least send it to overtime.
they came back to send it to overtime. I left. I thought we were done. I left at the start of the fourth quarter. I wish I would have stayed.
Yeah.
You know, after that loss at Texas, I think Neil Brown's gone.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I say to a lot of West Virginia fans is, what kind of a coach can West Virginia bring in? I mean,
That's the question.
That's
and
I'll
why I
say
made that video earlier today. If we say we're as committed to football, or if we're as committed to football as we say we are, then we need to start showing it with the money. You're not going to be able to get big name coaches with the salary that we're paying currently. You're just not. If you want the big name coaches, you're going to have to pay the big boy money. I mean, that's just simple facts. So
yeah, but what kind of donor money do they have coming into the university? That's the thing. I mean,
you'd be surprised.
Sure, I'm sure I would, but I'm just saying, in Nebraska, we have money on money on money. I mean, it's unreal, and out here, it's different, but it's a great university, a great place, great fan base. It's fun. I love the traditions. Like I said, I've become a Mountaineer fan in the last 4 years. My wife is a Mountaineer, and so I bleed Nebraska red, but I love Mountaineers.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said the fan base is definitely more passionate than people realize.
They are, but they're cutthroat. And I'll say one thing. Yes. This is the last thing I'll say before I go. But I'll say one thing. West Virginia fans can never cry and complain about other people talking shit on Dub V, because they're ruthless. They're ruthless. I mean,
especially at the stadium.
When Texas came to town and the whole stadium was screaming "F you, Texas" together. Wow. It was incredible. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's a good atmosphere, but awesome. I actually think that sometimes West Virginia fans take it too far, and that's what's given us a bad reputation, and that's what's kind of made certain conferences hesitant on bringing us in. They call us classless and all that stuff. We get it as West Virginia fans. They're very passionate. I mean, we have no professional football team. But I'm talking about from like the outside looking in.
Yeah, for sure.
It just puts a bad light on us. And I wish people like you're a Nebraska fan and you're seeing it for yourselves that it's not what people act like it is. It's not like we're just a bunch of mean people cussing everybody out. It's just whenever game time comes, it's game time.
Yeah, it's a passionate fan base, no doubt. But yeah, I think that West Virginia is going to probably go 6-6. I think it's going to be a lot like last year, where they're going to win some games they shouldn't and lose some games they shouldn't. But all the best to you and Mountaineers. Like I said, I'm glad to meet you, man. Let's go Mountaineers and go Big Red.
Good job, buddy.
Later.
Thanks for jumping on. That was a great call-in right there. Good job. So we have a Nebraska fan that's a season ticket holder of West Virginia and really loves the atmosphere up there in Morgantown. That's pretty awesome. Not gonna lie, that's pretty awesome. And I'm glad that other fans can see that it's not the way that most people have tried to paint West Virginia fans, as far as just classless hillbillies, don't know much, mean and all. If you go tailgating in Morgantown, you'll see that everybody's actually pretty friendly before the game. I mean, there might be a few people that don't get along, but for the past 10 years that I've been to Morgantown, I haven't seen one fight before the game or after the game. Now, in the 80s and early to mid-90s and some of the late 90s, there was a lot of fights, especially between West Virginia Pitt fans. But that's kind of calmed down, so that's kind of helped with our reputation. But they still get loud, and they still get they still say them cuss words and stuff. And, of course, the television crew doesn't like that. So that has hurt us. It is what it is, though.
People in general and the whole state of West Virginia are pretty nice.
Yeah, I agree. There are some sections where you get really backwoodsy where, they're not so friendly until you get to know them. They're that type of people where if you're a stranger, they're gonna, be defensive until they actually get to know you. So that's just how.
Stranger danger.
Exactly. I wanted to talk about some of the. We're starting to get into the middle of the season, and this is the time of year where some of the bigger games are going to be played. And then, of course, I wanted to talk about the coaching rumors because we all know that Matt Rhule was fired at Carolina, and he's like a big time hot name right now for coaching vacancies. I'm not sure if West Virginia has a shot at him. I don't know if West Virginia even wants to have a shot with him. From what I'm getting from Shane Lyons, we're sticking with Neil Brown for the time being. So we'll see about that. You know what? I'm hoping that Neil Brown can turn it around. I'm just not. I don't know. I'm not over the moon hopeful because of what I've seen. Past 2 years, our defense has kept us in games that we should not have been in. 100%. We've had terrible offenses, but the defense kept us in the games. And then this year, we finally have a great offense, and now our defense has become a liability. So I feel like he's good at getting things fixed one section at a time. But then when he moves on from that section to the next section, does the other section get forgotten about? Now that he's working on the offense, is the defense left behind? And now they've taken a massive step backwards. I don't know.
You think maybe a new defensive coordinator might help fix it?
Maybe, but that goes back to his bad decision making. He should have hired Jamil Adai over Jordan Leslie. I have no idea why he hired Jordan Leslie as the defensive coordinator. Jamil Adai was proving everything, and he continues to prove when he goes from one team to another, their defense gets massively better. Even with Miami, as bad as Miami has been, their defense is still better than when it was before him, but their offense has taken a big step back. So I personally think that right now, at the time of this live show, that Jamil Adai should be the defensive coordinator at West Virginia, and nobody can convince me otherwise. That's how I feel.
Yeah. And Matt Rhule, I don't know. I've never really been a big fan of him.
Well, I like Matt Rhule, but the only problem with Matt Rhule is I don't know if West Virginia would be a stop for him. It could be like a jumping spot. He did it to Baylor. He built them up in 3 years, but as soon as the NFL called with more money, then he bounced. So my biggest concern with Matt Rhule is if we hired him, yes, I do think he would be able to rebuild West Virginia. But the first name that comes along and offers him more money, he's gone. Might be NFL, although I don't think so because I think he's already learned his lesson from there. To me, it'd be more like a Rich Rod situation as far as, like a Michigan or a Texas or whoever, one of the bigger names needs a head coach, they would go after Matt Rhule. Honestly, I think Nebraska will go after him, and that would be a good hire for Nebraska. I think that would be a great hire for Nebraska. If they're not talking to Matt Rhule, they're not thinking straight. They have to at least be talking to him, like considering him. If you don't get him, that's fine, but get on the phone, talk to the dude.
Yeah, I kind of like the Liberty coach or
Hugh Freeze. Yep.
Or Tom Herman.
Yep.
They're really the two I like to replace Neil Brown.
Yeah, whenever I made my video of who I think we should replace Neil Brown because I think his days are numbered, it was Hugh Freeze and Tom Herman top two. But it's the same problem. They are big name head coaches, and if they do start having success at West Virginia, big names will come calling. So West Virginia needs to figure out if we're committed to football or not. Because if we're not, we're just going to be another stepping stone to the end of eternity. There's not there's not many, if any, Don Nehlen's out there still. We're not going to find another coach like that that's going to be a great head coach and stay at West Virginia for 20, 30 years. That's not in this day and time. If we're looking for that Don Nehlen, then we've lost touch with reality. Those type of people don't exist anymore. So, okay, we're committed to football, right? Let's start proving it. Let's start putting money into it. Let's start raising the salaries that we pay these coaches. And I'm not talking about the bonehead move that Shane Lyons made and gave Neil Brown an extension after year 2 in a massive buyout. That was absolutely ridiculous. But we are going to have to start shelling out more money if we want the bigger names.
What do you think of? I don't know the idea. I was talking to a couple friends, and they brought up the idea of Stoops from the coach from Kentucky coming over to West Virginia. I don't know if that's a good idea, if he would even do that.
Oh, that would be a great idea, but it's not possible because Kentucky
Money.
is paying their coach more than us. That goes back to what I was saying earlier. We can't be competitive with names like that. I mean, freaking Kentucky. We're not talking about Alabama, Clemson, Texas, or USC. We're talking about freaking Kentucky, who's a basketball school, and we can't compete with Kentucky because of the money. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. None whatsoever. It's crazy. And the thing about that is, I don't think Mark Stoops would come to West Virginia because of the money. And on top of that, Kentucky is actually the dream job of Neil Brown. If Neil Brown, the coach that we're wanting to get rid of, right? If Neil Brown had the choice before he took the job at West Virginia, if he had it between West Virginia and Kentucky, even he would have taken Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
That's where we're at as a football program. I mean, it makes me sad. I wish I could change it, but that's reality. If we want things to change, then we have to change it, and it starts with the higher ups. Stop making stupid decisions and start willing to pay money to get the bigger names. That's what it comes down to. Looking at these games, there's a lot of big games over the weekend. Like, this is probably the biggest weekend of games that I've seen in a long time. I think the headliner is number 10 Penn State at number 5 Michigan. You also have number 3 Alabama at number 6 Tennessee. That could be a good one. Number 8 Oklahoma State at number 13 TCU. 15 NC State at 18 Syracuse. 16 Mississippi State at number 22 Kentucky. And then number 7 USC at Utah. I want to start from the bottom and then kind of work our way up. So this surprises me a lot. So number 7 USC 6-0 on the road to number 20 Utah 4-2. I have Utah barely ranked in my top 25, like number 25. They're the only 2-loss team that I have in my new top 25, and Utah is favored 3.5. So there is still not enough faith in USC to go on the road and beat Utah. Here's the thing. I understand that Utah is a great atmosphere, but they're not that good this year. They're not the Utah of last year. Cameron Rising, for whatever reason, has started to make bad decisions. It cost them in that very first game against Florida, and then they lost again. So I don't know. I probably would take USC in this situation. How do you feel about that game?
USC in the points. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I think USC goes on the road and beats Utah, makes a statement. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I actually think we're either 1 or 2 weeks away from our first playoff rankings. And if USC can go on the road and beat Utah, they could make a case for being a top 4 team. But that's probably their biggest game. Other than, I know they had the rivalry game against Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's not all that great this year, and it's at home. And then the other rivalry game on the road against UCLA, but that game has the potential of having more USC fans than UCLA fans, or maybe 50-50 at worst. So this game right here against Utah on the road, probably the most difficult game remaining on their schedule. They took care of business on the road against Oregon State. That's a bigger win than people realize. Oregon State is a better team than most people realize, and Reser Stadium has been a house of horrors for USC. So for them to get over that hump, that was big. I know it took a late fourth quarter touchdown. Sometimes that's what it takes. They got it done. And now it's on to Utah on the road. If USC gets the job done on the road to Utah, people start taking them seriously as playoff contenders. This next matchup, number 16, Mississippi State at number 22, Kentucky. Now, Mississippi State's the favorite. They're a 7-point favorite. Reason being, South Carolina just went on the road and not only beat Kentucky, but beat them convincingly. I have no idea what happened, but if you looked at the line before that game, it was a lot smaller than what I thought it should have been. I think it was like Kentucky was favored by 13. I was thinking the line should be at least 20 points. So maybe Vegas knew something that I didn't know. Maybe it's the Chris Rodriguez injury, the running back for Kentucky. I know he's a great running back, but I thought Kentucky was a better all-around team than just their running back. I guess Vegas knew otherwise as well. So I'm thinking Kentucky picks up their third loss. They'll get bumped out of the top 25. Mississippi State gets the job done. They moved to 6-1. And the way that the AP poll rewards the SEC teams, it would not surprise me if Mississippi State goes on the road and blasts Kentucky if the very next week the AP top 25 has Mississippi State in the top 10. Would that surprise you? You hear me? He might be on mute. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think Kentucky's that good anyways. Yeah, I don't think he has good service. Somebody said something about Will Lewis was injured. For some reason, I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know that. That's a big deal. Did he play or was he just injured and trying to play through it? Huh. Anyways, so Kentucky could go from being a top-tier contender in the SEC East to now not even being ranked and going back to the same old Kentucky that we're used to seeing, and maybe Mark Stoops gets a little bit of a black smear across his name, having a letdown year. I don't know. I don't know the expectations of Kentucky fans when it comes to football, so I don't know about that. Number 4, Clemson at Florida State. That might be a test for Clemson, but Florida State hasn't looked good the past 2 games. They got pretty much handled by Wake Forest, and Clemson went on the road and beat Wake Forest in overtime. So I don't think Clemson's going to have any issues against Florida State. That line is a little smaller than what I was anticipating. I don't know. A 3.5-point spread. So maybe it was because Florida State went on the road and gave NC State some trouble, but to me, that was more on NC State than Florida State. NC State was not playing good whatsoever. It's not like Florida State put up a crap ton of points. They didn't. I think the final score was like 19-17 or something like that. Maybe that's – I don't know. Maybe that's why the reason the line's so small. But I'm going to take Clemson, and I'd probably lay the points. Clemson to stay undefeated 7-0. Wouldn't totally surprise me if Florida State upset them, though. Let's see. Number 15, NC State at number 18, Syracuse. Syracuse favored by 3.5. I think Syracuse stays undefeated for one more game. One more game. Enjoy being undefeated for one more game because I think Syracuse loses to Clemson and Wake Forest. They could pick up another loss besides that, but I think the 2 for sure losses for Syracuse, Clemson and Wake Forest. But this game being in the Dome, I think Syracuse was on a bye week this week, so they had a little bit more time to prepare. NC State was in a battle against Florida State. I think NC State's the better team, but this being in the Dome, I'm going to have to go with Syracuse and lay the points on that one. So they live to see another week as an undefeated team. But beyond that, 2 more losses coming your way, Syracuse. But still, hey, that's still anybody see Syracuse having a 10-win season. I'm not putting my hand up. I did not see that happening. But if you look at their schedule, it's not all that difficult either. So, but it did surprise me that they were able to beat Louisville and Purdue. But Louisville not as good as what I was expecting. Purdue still okay, but I mean the ending of that game was absolutely ridiculous. How many pass interference flags did they throw at the end of that game to keep that drive alive? I lost count. I just think Syracuse gets it done, even though I think NC State's the better team. I just don't like where it's going to be played at, and Syracuse coming off a bye week. I think that's a good recipe for Syracuse. Let's see here. We're going to go with, number 8 Oklahoma State at number 13 TCU. So TCU in a battle of undefeateds last week on the road against Kansas. This week, another battle of undefeateds for TCU, but this time it's home against Oklahoma State. That's a toss-up. TCU favored by 4. What does the chat think about this one, guys? What y'all think? Y'all think Oklahoma State stays undefeated or TCU stays undefeated? I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the matchups on paper because that's I mean it is at Fort Worth, so that helps TCU. Oh man. But Oklahoma State's offense is a lot better than what I was expecting. But their defense did take the step back. There's that. Quick reminder to everybody before we go on any further, make sure to hit the like button. It helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm. So even if you don't like me or you don't like this video, it just helps grow the audience. So not only are you helping me when you hit the like button, but you're also helping yourself because it helps grow the audience, and that's more people for you to trash talk or whatever you want to do in the chat. I don't know what goes on in the chat all the time, so I might have to go through it and make sure nothing crazy is going on. But yeah, if you want to help yourself and help the video, hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Helps the video out tremendously. Helps us hit that valuable YouTube algorithm. Any questions or comments to me or anybody that comes on the show, whether it's a question or a comment or you want to make fun of me, any of that nonsense, just hit the super chat button. It's a little dollar sign you see on the bottom right-hand corner below the comments. Anything you put in that super chat, I will throw it on the screen just like you see my name on the screen. Golden Blue Dude. I'll read it, address it. If it's a question, I'll answer it to the best of my ability. If it's a comment, I'll address it, and we'll go from there. And it's a great way to support the channel. We greatly appreciate all the donations. That's what keeps the channels going. Views help, but it's those super chats and other donations that really keep us going full time, especially. Oh yeah, getting back to Oklahoma State TCU. I have to make an actual prediction, don't I? Obviously, I think this is a close game. TCU was one of the teams that I was absolutely wrong on. 100% wrong on. Like, probably couldn't be more wrong about a team. Even if I'm wrong about another team, more wrong about TCU because I thought TCU was going to have an identity crisis. I thought there was going to have to be some adjustment between Gary Patterson and Sonny Dykes. And you add on the fact that Gary Patterson had been there for over 20 years, maybe even 30 years. I don't know. I just thought there would be a lot of adjustments going on this year. No. So I thought TCU could battle with Kansas, another team I was completely wrong with, for that bottom spot in the Big 12. Absolutely not. Kansas, one of the best teams in the Big 12, and TCU, most definitely one of the best teams in the Big 12. Oklahoma State, I expected them to be good, but not as good as last year. They're kind of surpassing expectations. This is a road game. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I don't think that TCU does what they did to Oklahoma, to the Cowboys, but I have to give the edge to TCU. I know Kansas quarterback got injured during that game last week, but TCU, they've really surprised me. So I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with the Horned Frogs, but it wouldn't surprise me. Whoever wins this game, it's not going to surprise me. Now, if the winner wins by like 20 points, that would surprise me. Even if it's the home team, TCU. TCU beats Oklahoma State by 20, that would surprise me. I expect this to be a very close game, closely contested, come down to the last drive probably. But worst case scenario, a 10-point win. If you're going with the 10-point win, then you'd probably go with the home team. But this is really a toss-up, guys. Straight up toss-up. But for now, I'm going to take TCU. Let's move on to, let's see. I'm going to save that game for last. All right, so we'll move on to Alabama and Tennessee. Alabama favored by 7.5. That's closer than what I was expecting because Vegas really loves Alabama. Last week, I think they were more than a 20-point favorite against Alabama. Of course, Alabama did not cover that, but Alabama and Texas A&M has turned into this sibling rivalry type of thing. This is a road game. How good really is Rocky Top? Really, how good are they? They've looked good at times, but then they had the home game against Florida, and clearly by watching the game, you could tell that Tennessee was the better team, clearly. But they kept giving Florida opportunities to stay in the game. Tennessee had multiple opportunities to stretch the lead to more than 3 scores. But for whatever reason, they would turn the ball over or they would stall out and they would allow Florida to score. That game never should have came down to an onside kick. That was absolutely ridiculous. But that's what Tennessee did. Does Tennessee do that against Alabama? How good really is Alabama? They haven't had, a game that made you think, wow, that's a national championship team. They've had their down games as well, even that road game against Texas. So, I don't know. I'm very torn on this one. Let's see. Alabama, I'm definitely going to take the points. Alabama favored by 7.5. If Alabama wins this game, I don't think they'll win by more than a touchdown. It's tough to bet against Nick Saban. It really is. But Tennessee has been surprising as well. Game day, I'm sure, is going to be there. So the atmosphere is going to be absolutely nuts. This is going to be a 3:30 kickoff, so it's not going to be a night game. Oh, man. I can't bet on Tennessee just yet. I'm sorry, Tennessee fans. I can't bet on you just yet. So I'm going to take the points, 7.5, but I still have to take Alabama until Tennessee beats somebody that's like really good. And going on the road and beating number 25 LSU doesn't prove anything. I'm sorry, that doesn't prove anything to me. Now, if you beat number 3 Alabama, then I will start believing. I still don't know if I would pick you to go on the road and beat Georgia, but I would start to believe in Tennessee being good if you beat Alabama at home. But I'm not believing yet. Not saying you're not a good team. I still think you're a good team. I don't think you're ready for the big moment yet. I guess that's the best way I can put it. And I think the biggest thing that proved that was the Florida game. Tennessee's not ready for the big moment yet. So I'm sticking with. I'm going to stick with Alabama. And if Tennessee proves me wrong, I'll actually be happy. I'll be happy if Tennessee proves me wrong. But for now, I'm definitely going to take Alabama. The last game is going to be the biggest game, even if game day's at the Alabama-Tennessee game. I think Penn State-Michigan is the biggest game of the day. If Penn State goes on the road and beats Michigan, their chances of going undefeated skyrockets. I had Penn State having at minimum a 10-win season, possibly an 11-win season. I thought that they would split the road trips between Purdue and Auburn, and they swept them. They swept those 2 road trips, barely beat Purdue, and absolutely blasted who's the other team? Auburn. Hold on one second. Quick mute. So yeah, this is a big game for it's a big game for the Big Ten. It's a big game for Penn State. It's a big game for Michigan, and it might be a big game for Ohio State. I think Ohio State will be keeping their eyes on this game as well. I don't think Ohio State plays this week. I'm not seeing them. So this must be their bye week. They're going to be keeping their eyes on this game, and I know Michigan's favored by 7. I'm going to go with the road team. I really believe in Penn State. I do. They went on the road and took care of Purdue. They went on the road and lambasted Auburn. Well, Auburn's not that great. You're right, but LSU had trouble against Auburn. So they're capable of giving people trouble, especially in Jordan Hare. Penn State had no issues. The Big House is not known for a great atmosphere. Sure, over 100,000 people, but they don't get as loud as SEC stadiums. Penn State went into an SEC stadium and absolutely hushed it by halftime. Hushed it. Halftime. Quietness. And never let them back in the game. I like Penn State. They have proven to be road warriors already. I don't think Michigan has been tested. They've had a cupcake schedule so far. This is going to be like a punch in the mouth to Michigan. Even though I think that Michigan's a good team. Don't misquote me. But Penn State's just better. And after this game, if Penn State does beat Michigan like I think they will, then Penn State's going to be in some playoff conversations. Big playoff conversations. This would be a tremendous win. This would be a tremendous win. Yeah, Michigan is not Auburn. I was saying stadium. Penn State went into an SEC stadium. SEC stadiums like Auburn, LSU, Alabama, Texas A&M, louder than some of the stadiums in the Big Ten, including the Big House. And that's not necessarily Michigan's fault. It's how they built the stadium. It's instead of the crowd being on top of you, it's like a bowl where, if you're in the last row, then you're way far from the field because they dug it out as a bowl. So it doesn't trap noise like it should. It's way too open. But, over 100,000 people, biggest stadium in the nation. I think Michigan still has the biggest stadium in the nation. But I don't know what Michigan is yet. I know they're a good team, but they've had a soft schedule. They haven't been tested. Penn State has been tested. They have gone on the road and hushed hostile road environments. And Sean Clifford, healthy all year so far, and Penn State's looked great. Look at last year, whenever he went down, Penn State took a nosedive. So this is not the same Penn State as last year. So I like Penn State on the road. I really do. And I understand. Don't get me wrong, people. I think y'all are thinking that I'm saying that Auburn is good. That's not what I was saying. Auburn's bad. They're probably going to fire Brian Harsin. All right. So try to get this untwisted. I'll explain it one more time. Okay. What I was saying is Penn State went into an SEC stadium and hushed them. So my point was that the atmosphere, the crowd is going to be a non-factor. That's not going to faze Penn State. They went to Purdue, hushed that crowd, and they went to Auburn and hushed that crowd. I haven't looked at all their road games. And you know what? I'm going to look it up right now just because of that right there. Was a little bit annoyed about that. I explained myself several times, but somehow it gets twisted. Yeah, those are actually the only 2 road games. I knew it. I knew that. But the bottom line is, I was pointing out, I wasn't comparing Michigan, the team, to Auburn, to the team. I was comparing the stadiums, and I explained that explicitly, so I still don't understand how that got twisted. But it'll probably get twisted again, even though I explained myself again. Can't wait to see your comments on that one. But my point is, they go on the road, and it's going to be a hostile road environment, but Penn State's already done it. They've already hushed the crowd. They know how to do it. Michigan is a better team than Auburn, but Michigan hasn't been tested like Penn State. I think Penn State's the better team. That's the bottom line. I think Penn State's the better team, and I think that the road environment isn't going to really affect Penn State. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm way wrong. Maybe Michigan absolutely blasts Penn State. I've been wrong before, but that's my take. I think Penn State's the better team, and they have experience with going on the road and shushing loud crowds. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. Remaining schedule after that is if Penn State goes on the road and takes care of Michigan, rest of their schedule very, very doable. Very doable. Minnesota, number 2, Ohio State, but at home, at Indiana, Maryland, at Rutgers, and Michigan State. The Big Ten is actually down this year, if you think about it, across the board. The Big Ten West, a joke again. Iowa has a great defense again, but they still can't score points. I don't know why. It's time to move on from your head coach. I know he's been there for a long time. I know he's had a lot of success, but he cannot get a halfway decent offense on the field. It's time for Iowa to move on. Nebraska, the train wreck that was Scott Frost. I know he's moved on, and Nebraska has immediately looked better after Scott Frost, but I mean, still nothing to brag about. Minnesota, everybody thought Minnesota was going to win the West, right? And then they fall flat on their face at home against Purdue. So now is Purdue going to win the West? I don't know. Wisconsin looks terrible. They fired their head coach. Who knows? Northwestern's Illinois. There you go. Illinois is going to win the West. Wow. Big Ten West. What are you thinking? Illinois is going to win the Big Ten West. And let's see. Champion is going to come out of the East. Runner-up will be out of the East, and the third-place team will be out of the East, and then the fourth-place team will play the first-place team out of the East. The fourth-place team out of the entire Big Ten will win the Big West, and that's Illinois. Illinois is the fourth-best team, but since they're in the West, they'll get to the Big Ten championship. My gosh, that's a mess. But even if you swing over to the East, Michigan State took the big step back that I predicted, like even bigger. Like they have dropped tremendously. I wonder how they're feeling about that extension they gave Mel Tucker now. Indiana, signs of being good, but not really. Rutgers might end up being a bowl team. I don't know. Maryland, same situation, might end up being a bowl team. I don't know. The Big Ten comes down to 3 teams this year, and they're all in the East. Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. That's it. Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. So the Big Ten, they better hope that those 3 teams don't just like beat up on one another, and then the one that survives gets beat in the Big Ten championship. Yikes. Jeffrey Foster, thank you for the $4.99 donation. Says, sorry I lost service, just got it back. I enjoy talking to you, though. Keep up the good work. Maybe there's a way I can live stream during the game. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm going to do as well. So, I'm glad you came on, man. That was a good talk. But, man, when you really – and I'm not saying this is every year, but when you really boil down the Big Ten this year, it comes down to 3 teams. Last year, it was basically the same thing, except I guess you could throw Iowa in there, except last year it was Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Iowa. Wisconsin was good there for a little while as well. So it was a little bit better last year. This year, it's even worse. I don't know what's going on in the Big Ten. But I don't know. Adding USC and UCLA is going to help with that a lot. I will say that. It's going to help with that a lot. But my official prediction, I think Penn State is better than Michigan. I think they'll go in, and I think they'll beat Michigan by a touchdown, maybe 10 points. Maybe 10 points. It would surprise me if the winner, whoever it may be, it would surprise me if the winner wins by more than 10 points. I think this is a very closely contested football game. Best running back in college football. I think it is Gibbs. Yes. Gibbs is looking really good. Really good. He transferred to Alabama, right? And I would have argued before C.J. Donaldson went down that C.J. Donaldson could have had an argument for being the best running back in college football because
he was averaging over 7 yards a carry. So that was a big blow for West Virginia. And it was nice to be able to say that we had a running back that was having numbers with the best of the running backs. And we have a quarterback that is having numbers with the best of the quarterbacks. West Virginia's offense looks good this year, but our defense looks like absolute trash. Trash. And that's why I said in my video, somebody get us out of this hellhole. Because once we fix one aspect, the other aspect gets flushed down the toilet. And it's very nerve-wracking being a West Virginia fan. Very, very nerve-wracking. So that BYU Arkansas game, that's going to be a home game for, I know that's a week away, isn't it? Or is that this week or next week? I didn't see it for this week. I guess it is this week. I forgot BYU got beat. Oh. I was looking for BYU's ranking. I forgot they got beat. Sorry about that. How is see, this is what I'm talking about, guys. The SEC bias. Arkansas is a 1.5 point favorite on the road to BYU just because BYU went on the road and lost to Notre Dame. That's ridiculous. Oh, man. Do they not realize how tough of a road environment that is? Lavelle Edwards Stadium. And who was it? Excuse me. Where was it? Dadgummit. Oh, Earl Carr said it's sold out. So it's going to be past capacity. No, BYU beats Arkansas. Incorrect, John. Arkansas will not beat BYU. BYU will beat Arkansas. That one I can say with very, very solid confidence. A lot of people forget that BYU and Notre Dame is a big-time rivalry. So did it surprise me that Notre Dame beat BYU? Yes, it did. But should it have? Probably not, because Notre Dame is looking better. Maybe the head coach has finally settled in and take care of business now. But as far as Arkansas at home for BYU, no. Arkansas is not even that good of a team. So how would they even go on the road and beat BYU? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Like, at all. Now, if this was a home game for Arkansas, oh, yes, it was in Las Vegas. Gotcha. Yeah. If it was in Arkansas, then I could understand Arkansas possibly pulling off the win against BYU, but I don't think Arkansas's. Let me look at Arkansas real quick. Yeah, I forgot that was a neutral game in Las Vegas. 3 losses in a row for Arkansas. Wow. The home game neutral game against A&M, then the blowout home game against Alabama, then a blowout road to Mississippi State. And even after this game, they have a bye week, and then they stay on the road against Auburn. Yeah, I don't like Arkansas's chances at all. I do think they beat Auburn on the road because Auburn's just horrible. That would put them. Let's see if they get to a bowl. That'll put them at 4-3. Liberty at home, that's a win. That's 5-3. LSU at home, that's 6-3. Okay, they will get to a bowl. They will get to a bowl. They may get to 7-5 if they beat Ole Miss at home. Well, they'll beat Arkansas. Is going to finish 8-4 because they could upset Ole Miss, and then they're definitely going on the road to beat Missouri. So, in the same breath that I said that Arkansas is a bad team, now I think they're going to finish 8-4 because the ending of their schedule is an absolute joke. They just went through their toughest stretch and absolutely failed. They flunked it. They have one more game before they get totally through their toughest stretch. But then after this, at Auburn, win. Liberty at home, win. LSU at home, win. Ole Miss, toss-up, but could be a win. And then at Missouri, win. That's at minimum 7-5. That's cake at the end. Absolute cake. The only halfway decent team that they played down the stretch is number 9 Ole Miss, and that's a home game. So there you go. An easy schedule to end the year. But as far as the tough stretch, A&M, Bama, at Mississippi State. Sorry, Arkansas, you flunked. You get an F. Loss. You shouldn't have lost to A&M at the neutral site. And I heard it from Arkansas fans that it wasn't A&M beating Arkansas. It was Arkansas shooting themselves in the foot. Well, it still counts as a loss. Just ask us West Virginia fans. That's how we lose. We keep shooting ourselves in the foot. We're still 2-3. We can't change it. Alabama at home. Y'all scored 3 unanswered touchdowns, but then still managed to get blown out against Alabama at home. And then you go on the road and lay an egg against Mississippi State. Blowout. My gosh. Oh, man. This is actually pretty cool. Sorgy Story says for chat, if you were here, in other words, a subscriber of Golden Blue Dude, before Golden Blue Dude reached 1,000, put 1K in the chat. If you were here before Golden Blue Dude reached 5,000, put 5K in the chat. Okay. So he's trying to gauge if we have long-time subscribers, medium-time subscribers, or new subscribers. That's actually not a bad idea right there. It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. And then let me rephrase what he just said. If you were here before 1,000, before I hit 1,000, 1K. If you were here between 1,000 and 5,000, you put 5K. And then if you were here between 5,000 and 10,000, that's when you put 10K. I think that would be the correct way to phrase that. And I know that Der Wake was here before, well before 1,000. G Boone. Yeah, names that are recognized definitely before 1,000. So John came recently between 5,000 10,000, and Oscar between 5 and 10, UGA between 5 and 10. That was a good idea, Sorgy, because you're getting a lot of responses. Very well done. I don't think I've seen a comment request get a response like that. Nice job. No, I don't think Liberty's going to be a tough out this year. If it was last year, yeah, maybe, but not this year. Before we head out of here, guys, I did a video earlier on the possibility of Matt Rhule coming to West Virginia. Well, the first thing is we would have to get rid of Neil Brown. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know how loyal Shane Lyons is going to be to Neil Brown. Okay, that's the first thing. Buyout does go down at the end of the year, but will Matt Rhule still be on the market at the end of the year? That's another thing. Timing. Will West Virginia have the timing to get the right guy? And the third thing is there are some risks for a guy like Matt Rhule at West Virginia. And the biggest one is Matt Rhule using West Virginia as a stepping stone. So whether you want Matt, if you're a West Virginia fan, whether you want him or not, there are some risks involved, and timing would have to come together for West Virginia to get Matt Rhule here. And we'd have to fire Neil Brown, and Shane Lyons is not willing to do that right now. It's sad. It sucks. I hate it for us. And yeah, Matt Rhule would turn West Virginia into a winner, but then he would skip town because the next big name would come calling, and West Virginia wouldn't want to pony up the dough. That's one of the biggest problems here at West Virginia. We are not willing to pony up the dough to keep a good head coach. And with Rich Rod wasn't asking for a raise for himself. He was asking for a raise for his assistants. West Virginia said thanks, but no thanks, and he took off. And West Virginia hasn't been the same since. So bad decisions lead to bad consequences. And over a decade later, almost, I think it's been over 15 years now. Yeah, right at 15 years. We're still paying the consequence on that bad decision. sucks. And yes, Matt Rhule is a very wealthy man because he's going to get that $40 million buyout from Carolina. So maybe that actually helps West Virginia. Maybe he's not looking to make a lot of money. Maybe he's looking for more of a laid back-ish situation that's not expecting a national championship in the next 2 years. I never thought about that. That's not bad right there. See, when you're a football coach, getting fired is not always a bad thing if you have good lawyers and the lawyers worked in a tremendous buyout. Something to think about. Anyways, guys, I'm going to head out of here, but I appreciate everybody that stopped by. This was my first live show for me in person in 3 days. But special shout out to Joey for handling it. He did a great job. I know y'all had a great time with Joey, so special shout out to him. I was working on the background over the weekend. It's still not even close to being done. The biggest thing that I think is going to help is the front here where you can see through. It's actually going to be walled off. That part down, walled off. And remember the Penn wheel of pennants? The pennants that went in the circle? That's going to be front and center right there. Front and center. John, I got your Texas. Let me remove this super chat. Hold on. See, I got your Texas sign right behind me. In case you didn't see it, I got you. You're in the background. Let me move the mic for a second. There we go. Now you can see it. So I saw you in the chat, so I'd make sure you knew. But anyways, we're gonna wall this off, right, and then the pinwheel of pennants will go right here. We might have to put up more than one pinwheel, by the way, because I'm still getting pennants. I'm running out of room. I might have to rotate pennants. I don't know. It's crazy. Anyways, guys, hope you all had a good time. Remember, I'm not worried about being right and wrong all the time. I'm just here to entertain you. So if you forgot about your stresses and troubles, even just for an hour, then I've done my job. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Still helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm, even though we're not live anymore. So remember that on the way out. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to everybody in the comments, everybody that super chatted, people that joined the stream. All that helps Golden Blue Dude. So for that, I want to thank you. We'll definitely see you again tomorrow, but I never know what time I'm going to go live because of everyday life. So make sure to have the notification bell rung. And if you're not a subscriber, what are you waiting on? This is what we do every day. College football every day. So hit the subscribe button and the notifications. So tomorrow, I will definitely see you again. I just don't know what time.